Hallo Leute, welcome back to my channel Deutschflicks, where Nicht and Kein, they finally stop fighting in your head like Tom and Jerry. So today we are tackling one of the most annoying confusion at A1, Kein versus Nicht. So by the end of this video, you'll exactly know when to use what with easy rules, clear examples and quick practice. Sind Sie bereit? Are you ready? Los geht's. Okay. So initially we are discussing Kein because this is, I feel, easier than Nicht to understand. But before we discuss when to use Kein, let's quickly make a table of all the forms of Kein. So this is dependent on the gender as well as the case. So this is the table: Kein, Kein, Keiner, Keiner, and in accusative case only masculine gender changes. So if der changes to den, ein to einen, Kein changes to keinen. Rest all it will be as it is because only masculine gender change in accusative. But in dative case, in case of masculine and neutral, it becomes keiner. You can see, and in feminine, D changes to der, hence I have changed keiner to keiner. And in case of plural, D changes to den plus N, so our keiner changes to keinen plus N. So this is what we know from our A1. Now let's discuss when to use Kein. So there are only two situations wherein I will use Kein. First one being noun with an indefinite article and I want to negate it, I will use Kein. And then in a sentence, if the noun doesn't have any article at all, like you can't see it, then again if you want to negate it, you have to use Kein. So I'll quickly write them down. Now, in order to understand this, I have written a couple of sentences which are positive, like we have to negate them. We will use either Kein or Nicht, I don't know, but we have to check if we have noun with an indefinite article and noun without an article. Let's see. If the condition is true, then we will use Kein. First up, we have Ich habe eine Schwester. I can spot a noun, that too with an indefinite article eine. So if I were to negate this, I will just use Kein. And I'll say Ich habe keine Schwester. I do not have sister. Then we have hat Geld. Now there are situations wherein we do not use article at all. So we will not say he has a money. We will say he has money. Now in order to negate this, I can say noun. There is a noun without an article. So we can go ahead and use forms of Kein. Now Geld is das Geld, neutral, and situation is and case is accusative. So we will go with Kein. Hat kein Geld. Now while telling profession, we do not use article at all. Hence we have sie ist Studentin. She is a student. I can see a noun, that too without an article. If I want to negate this, I will use Kein or forms of Kein. So we will say sie ist keine Studentin. Studentin is feminine. Then mein Freund hat einen BMW. My friend has a BMW. Now we can spot a noun, that too with an indefinite article. We can use Kein or its forms. So if we have einen, it will be keinen. Mein Freund hat keinen BMW. Then at last, ich habe Bücher. I have books. So again, there is a noun, that too without an article. So we will use kein or forms of kein. It will be ich habe keine Bücher. I do not have books. Bücher is plural. Case is accusative because of haben. Let's not get into case system now at this point. But long story short, if there is a noun, that too with an indefinite article or without article, then we use kein or forms of kein. Let's discuss nicht. We use nicht for everything else. Like for kein, we got two situations, right? Noun with an indefinite article and noun without article. Now, whatever situation you come across apart from that, you have to use nicht. So, nicht can be used to negate verbs, adjectives, adverbs, even noun with definite or possessive article. Or if you want to negate the whole sentence, then again you have to use nicht only. So we will see those situations. I'm gonna explain you with the help of an example. Let's discuss one example of every kind. We'll start with how to negate a verb. So for this, if you want to say he is sleeping, you'll say er schläft, right? Now in this sentence, there's no object at all. We have a subject, we have a verb. If you want to negate this, you will say er schläft nicht. So you will use nicht here. He doesn't sleep. We cannot use nicht before the verb. Reason being, verb has to come in the second place, right? We are violating the rule of Aussagesatz. After subject, verb has to come. So the only position for nicht in this case will be last. Let's see how to negate an adjective. Der Film war interessant. The film was interesting. If we want to negate this, we will say der Film war nicht interessant. So we have to use nicht before the adjective itself. So this will be the position of nicht in this sentence. Before an adjective. What if we have an adverb? So I have used the same sentence and I have included an adverb. Now where will nicht come? So obviously before the adverb we will place nicht. So nicht will come here. Der Film war nicht sehr interessant. It wasn't very interesting. Now for situation, noun with definite article and noun with possessive article. So let's take two sentences. So das ist der Hund, we can say noun and there is definite article. Now for that we have to use nicht, which will come before the article itself. Das ist nicht der Hund, that is not the dog. And if we have a possessive noun, then nicht will come before possessive noun. Sie ist nicht meine beste Freundin. She's not my best friend. So if there is a preposition and you want to negate the sentence, so nicht will come before the preposition. For example, ich wohne in Mumbai. Now I can see there is a preposition in. If I want to negate this sentence, I will use nicht before in. Like I said, for everything else you have to use nicht. If you want to negate the entire sentence, the whole sentence, then nicht has to come at the end. Zum Beispiel, for example, ich habe das Geld, I have the money. Ich habe das Auto von Max. So if you want to negate the entire sentence, nicht has to come at the end. Ich habe das Auto von Max nicht. In this situation, you are negating the entire sentence. Now you must be thinking we can also place nicht here. But the thing is, position of nicht matters a lot in the sentence because it can also change the meaning. If I say ich habe nicht das Auto von Max, it means I do not have the car of Max, but I have car of someone else. Now, if I do not have car at all, then I will use nicht at the end of the sentence. Okay, if this sounds super confusing for you, let's discuss the position of nicht in a sentence and how the position of nicht can change the meaning. Let's take a base sentence. Ich sehe heute den Hund im Garten. So I'm seeing the dog in garden today. Now we'll discuss all the positions of nicht in this sentence and how the meaning will change. So first position you can play safe if you want to negate the entire sentence. Now if you are placing nicht, that means you are negating the verb. You're negating the action that you do not see at all. You haven't seen the dog in the garden today. But I can see there is heute, which is an adverb. So before adverb, I can also place my nicht. Now sentence will be ich sehe nicht heute den Hund im Garten. Now when you say nicht heute, it means on some other day. It could be tomorrow. Okay, so you're not seeing the dog in the garden today, but on some other day you will see it. One more position where you can use nicht is before the definite article. Now if I place here nicht, sentence ich sehe heute nicht den Hund im Garten. Now it means you're seeing someone in the garden, but it is definitely not the dog. It may be the cat, eine Katze. It could be a leopard. Next position where you can use nicht is before the preposition. Now in this case, you're seeing the dog today, but definitely not in the garden, somewhere else, maybe in the park, im Park. Now interestingly, there's one more position where nicht can come. It can also come at the beginning. That means if we want to negate the subject. So if I write nicht at the beginning and say nicht ich sehe heute den Hund im Garten. Now this sentence will mean कि I do not see the dog in the garden, but maybe someone else has seen the dog today in the garden, but definitely not me. Nicht ich. Now this seems a bit messy, so what I'll do is I'll summarize each and everything I said to you just now. One more nicht is left basically at the end. That will mean that you're negating the action. So using nicht at the very end. So if you have understood this bit, I have come up with one more sentence. So you have to think of all the positions of nicht in this particular sentence and how the meaning will change. And then I will show my answers. But this is a bit tricky. So here you have to think a lot for one of the positions of nicht. I'll show my answer in 5 seconds. You can pause the video. Okay, so I'll start with the easiest one using nicht at the beginning. Nicht, ich rufe heute Abend meinen Freunden an. So I am not the one who is calling my friend, someone else, today evening. Now there is an adverb heute which I can negate. Ich rufe nicht heute Abend meinen Freund an. So not today evening I am calling my friend. On some other time of the day, could be morning or night. Now if I'm calling, let's say, my mother instead of my friend, so I will use nicht here. Ich rufe heute Abend nicht meinen Freund an. I'm not calling my friend, but maybe someone else. Now one last position of nicht when you want to negate the entire sentence, like you want to negate the action, which is to call, like you are not calling at all. The question is, can we use nicht at the end? The answer is no. Why? Because there is a separable verb here, anrufen, wherein you conjugate the second part. So the only position that nicht is left with to come here. This is the position. Also, in case of modal verb, like you conjugate the modal verb according to the subject, main verb goes to the end of the sentence in infinitive form. Even in this situation also, nicht has to come before the main verb and not at the end of the sentence, because in that situation you will violate the rule of modal verb. We cannot violate the rule of modal verb, we cannot violate the rule of, let's say, separable verb. It seems to be nicht is very weak. He has to adjust its position. Okay, so that's all about nicht. So here we had the sentence Ich wohne in Mumbai. So I can maybe also note down that if we have preposition, then also we have to use nicht. Also, in case of a proper noun, if we have a proper noun, then also we have to use nicht. For example, Ich bin Basant. I am Basant. Now you cannot say Ich bin kein Basant. You have to say Ich bin nicht Basant if you want to negate this. Or Das ist Berlin, that is Berlin. You cannot say Das ist kein Berlin. You have to say Das ist nicht Berlin. So if you want, you can note down one example for this as well. Now I want you to go through Kein and Nicht. You have to solve one practice exercise. So I have given the position to you where you have to fill, but you have to decide whether you'll fill Nicht or forms of Kein. I'll show my answers in 5 seconds. You can pause the video. Nummer 1. Kommt heute. He's coming today. So at the end, it's like negating the action, negating the entire sentence. So we will fill nicht. Kommt heute nicht. He doesn't come today. Nummer 2. Ist student. It seems we have a noun, that too without an article. So that means we're gonna fill forms of kein. So it will be ist kein student. Masculine, that too nominative case because of the verb sein. Sein is strictly nominative. Nummer 3. Arbeitet Luca bei McDonald's. We have by, which is preposition. He works at McDonald's. He doesn't work at McDonald's. So we will fill nicht. Vier. Morgen mache ich Lücke Hausaufgaben. So there is a noun, that too without an article. So we will fill forms of kein. Here it will be keiner. So this is plural, that too case is accusative because of machen. So tomorrow I will not do the homework. So tomorrow I will not do homework. Nummer 5. Katja versteht Lücke Englisch. So Katja understands English. There is a noun, that too without an article. So we will fill forms of kein. We will go with kein. So English, you take all the languages, they are neutral. Das English, das Deutsch, das Spanish. And if you want to understand the case is accusative because of verstehen, to understand. Nummer 6. Ich bin heute Abend Lücke hier. So I am today evening here. This is easy. There's no noun without an article. So we have to fill nicht. Nicht hier, not here, but somewhere else. Ich bin heute Abend nicht hier, not here. 7. Ich habe Lücke Stuhl in meinem Zimmer. There is a noun, that too without an article. So we will fill forms of kein. Case is accusative because of haben, and Stuhl is masculine. How does der change in accusative? It changes to den, right? So kein will be changed to keinen. I do not have chair in my room. Ich habe keinen Stuhl in meinem Zimmer. So that's a wrap on kein versus nicht. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Deutschflicks, and tell me in the comments what's one sentence you always get wrong with nicht and kein. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.
Like and subscribe.